Welcome to day 2 of the scrapbooking class this week of Webisodes. And scrapbookers, I hear you saying, well, it's about time. You're right, we agree. And today we've got some wonderful things,
including these beautiful acetate butterflies. We also have scrapbooking dazzles and bellies, gold charms, and we're going to show you lots of fun ways to use them all.
And by the way, those butterfly acetates were done for us exclusively for personal shopper members by our friends at Hunky Dory. Let's go into some of the kits and see what we have. Come play with us. We're going back to March, our little kind of time travel going on. And this is all about embellishments. So you're going to see lots of different things. This is the newsletter that's included. I talk in my letter just about what we're focusing on, what some of the techniques, giving some extra ideas. And then, of course, everything is shown in double-page spreads, nice big images, and then some close-ups on some other, points of interest.
Right, plus all the instructions that you need for creating each one of these, and the classes and techniques that we're going to teach you within this personal shopper.
Now,
classes.
This month, like it was March, there was 2 paper packs, as there's always 2. This is Kindred Spirits, and this is a double-sided paper pack. And just to show you the papers, in case you missed them, this has this beautiful lace as well as the florals, and that ended up being turned into a stamp, Kindred Spirits stamp.
Yeah, it's just so beautiful. It's a really kind of a folk art look a little bit.
It is. It's got some layering, and you can see the dots behind it. Now, I like to do this on the months like this one where there is a video. And just something that's fun to do is the different ways that you can turn the papers. You can have them going like this. You can have them at, let's see, opposite corners, like so. Just some really fun things to see. And it's just nice to kind of play with it like so. And sometimes we don't think about that. We kind of get stuck in a rut. And so I wanted to show that to you. Something else about the papers, and this is true of all hot off the press papers, is this from some other companies might have been a dot with a plain tan and put some flowers and some lace. Not for our designers.
No, it's layered. You can see these layers on these beautiful design papers.
You can see there is a text block, there's some modeling behind there, and there are layers of art. And I just think that that adds such depth to the papers themselves. On the back side, we have a tile all over pattern, again, with some modeling behind it, and this is a green on a light green, so nice mixture.
So you're going to see all of these colors getting picked up. There's a stripe. It's just beautiful. It looks like lace work all over this stripe, and picks up all of the colors that you saw on that border page.
The back side is going to be a very tiny dot, and this is on the brown with a very subtle light brown dot. Here, we're going to go back in closer. We'll have John going back and forth. He'll get dizzy. And you can see that this is an all-over tile pattern also.
And you've got that scuffing all over, and all of these. It's sort of a little bit of a white sort of scuffed in there behind.
It is. And then on the back side of this is a tan with that scuffing also. Very, very useful for matting. Then we have a floral, as you would expect. And this is a very small design, and you can see how they're kind of linking those flowers. And then on the back side is a tone-on-tone, similar design, but getting it into the tone-on-tone colors. Then we have a lace-edged all-over pattern.
This is just beautiful for using just as a page all as itself as that background, because you've got that lace border. But you can also use parts of it if you want to make a card with it.
Right, it works beautifully. Now we'll go in close again, and
so there's that same floral print, but this one is more of a pink or mauve.
Yes, right. And then we have another floral, as you can see, this time a little more intense in the color combination. And then we have an all over. Isn't that just lovely?
Beautiful.
Okay, so that is our Kindred Spirits.
And by the way, these double-sided papers, they're really thick. They're heavier than like a single-sided. I love that about them.
It's an 80-pound paper. It's not cardstock. We really like the weight of paper, but it is a little bit heavier than perhaps what you would find if you bought papers by double sheet. Of course, these papers are not available that way. They're only available in collections.
And so here's another double-sided set.
Exactly.
We didn't get that in the set we looked at yesterday, and you don't always, so that's special.
It is for this month, and this is Homeward Bound, and this is just a wonderful collage. We'll start over at the right hand. We've got the maps, and then we're bringing in some posters and some luggage tags, vintage feel.
Right, some paraphernalia, things picked up from travels maybe. You can look at that map, try to figure out where it is.
Right, and the poster marks, so a very ephemeral look to it. And again, this is a double-sided, so on the back we have the longitude and latitude is taken from the North Pole or South Pole.
So striking. I just love that. And you get this flourish. You can sort of see that flourish in the background, and you're going to see that in some of the other papers.
Then we have another one, and if you remember sending airmail letters, your envelope had the stripes on it at a diagonal this way. And this is another page where we start with the map and then go over. This time we have flourishes, we have some flowers, postmarks again, and more of the flourishes. Yes.
Just beautiful.
Very, very fun. On the back side, there's a river going, and on the back side there is an all-over pattern, just beautiful in the blues and greens. Just and again, look at the depth of the imagery. Then we have some hot air balloons.
That's just fun.
Which is just fun, and you can see there's some texture going on behind them. And on the back side, there's an all-over map design.
Great.
Just really
okay,
gorgeous.
That one's Green Lake. Maybe somebody lives around that one. We'll get that figured out.
Okay, moving along. And then we have this, which it has the compass points and an all-over pattern.
This is one of my favorites for one of the reasons you've been talking about. You can see these lights and darks in the background. It just makes this shadow. It's just a gorgeous layering.
Just gives you some extra. And then on the back side there is a brown, again, with the longitude and latitudes. There is an all-over, again, as I talked about the airmail letters. And it also has a little corner treatment, too. Just a small little guy down there.
That's fun.
With the compass. And then you can see the flourishes behind this. So it's not just plain stripes. It's got, again, more texture to it.
Which is nice. It breaks up something that might be too contrasting.
Yes. We have a third one with the longitude and latitude, but because it's such a useful pattern, I thought that was a great idea. And then this is the stripe, and it has this flourish along the edge, and it's kind of got some texture looking to it, as you can see with that very teeny tiny wainscoting in there. And then the back side is tone on tone with the flourishes. So that's what we have for the papers.
So we are also including, like we talked about, these beautiful acetate butterflies.
Yes.
It was a special edition made just for this personal shopper.
Card makers and scrapbooking.
Card makers
yes.
and scrapping. So if you were a member of the club, you saw this first, and you got this only within this kit.
Now these are die cut also. So not only are they foiled, but they are also die cut, so they'll just pop right out of there.
They are simple to pop out, and you're going to see some neat techniques with those. There are quite a few of them on one sheet. I didn't count them.
I didn't either.
There are some small ones.
There's a bunch.
There are some large ones. Gosh, there are at least 12 or more. And then you've got the Kindred Flowers scrapbooking dazzle. So there are 3 sheets in here. You're going to get an idea on the front. And on the back, you can see down here the scrapbooking dazzles that you get within this. There are lots of beautiful treatments with those florals that matches those papers.
There are 91 pieces in that set.
Amazing.
And this is, in light of our Homeward Bound, this is a travel book. There are 240 images, and they're arranged by color. So you can see on the background. So again, there's going to be more of the vintage travel tags and postcards. There you go. That's going to work so well. We've got some passports. I will tell you, I was in an airport in Australia, and I stopped people when they had different passports and asked if I could take photos of the fronts of them. I did. There's no stopping this woman. You can see the road signs. You can see luggage. And again, okay, so that's in the blue section, so
Right.
Americana. Then we're going into the brown, and these do have to be torn out or cut.
Right.
But you can see that with the posters, they're
Beautiful
pretty,
artwork on
yeah,
them, just
very
gorgeous.
very fun.
And they're versatile. I mean, there are trip-oriented, but there's also just relax-oriented in there. I mean, palm trees.
Hawaii, is that
Sure.
what you're thinking? And
All
then
kinds of beautiful. I
into
love the purples.
has some Asian images as well as kind of Victorian, and then into the darker brown with all of these. So
There's so many in there. How many
yes,
in there? There's a lot.
240.
240.
Right.
That's huge just in itself.
It is.
That. There are also ribbons with this kit. So you're going to get ribbons for the projects. You'll see how they get used. You get
And
lots of
there are
different
ribbons
kinds.
in every kit.
In every kit you get those. There's always something special. And this one you get this white vine. You get a twill. And I love the dotted pink. There's a tiny little grosgrain in there. So lots of ribbons.
We also have, in keeping with the travel theme, these are embossed foiled charms, and they are not die cut, so you do kind of need to snip them out. But oh, you know what? I think I just lied. These are die cut.
Yeah.
Okay. This set is.
Both of these are. Yeah.
I lied. These are die cut. Isn't that nice?
You're lucky you got the die cut ones.
And they are paper, however, so you get them in copper and another set in gold. And in addition, there are some stickers, 158 pieces. We don't often have alphabet stickers, so this is a nice treat.
It's wonderful. They are self-adhesive. You just peel them off and stick them where
Have
you
a little
want
bit
them.
of shine and glimmer
Right.
there.
And embellies. Now these embellies match the Homeward Bound set, so they are brads in different sizes with the resin coating on them, and in artwork that matches the papers that you saw in the Homeward Bound kit. So there are some with little maps, and some of them are about a 1/2 inch or 5/8 inch wide, down to about 3/8 of an inch wide. So lots of little embellies to play with.
We talk about those as epoxy
Right.
brads.
Epoxy
Now,
brads.
we're going to start with our first double page spread, and Lene did this, and she went back to some military photos of her dad's service in World War II. And I just think this is such a nice way. Very often with older photos, you have one, and to be able to really let that be the star.
Sure. So that in itself, this one page is just, and it's just beautiful. It's very much a testimony to that photo.
It very much is, and you can see that this is the art out of the Travel Artsy Collage right here, right here. I hope you remember seeing that postcard envelope right there, and these, and then it's,
So this one was torn.
Right.
That's a very unique look. It gives it a real vintage look. Torn edges here and inked, and then some of them were actually cut out.
and this is a nice way to use those papers, the longitude and latitude. You can see the red and the brown, and then taking that little flourish that was on the stripe, letting that become a vertical border.
Right, and a few things were done here with the charms. These were sanded. I guess, yeah, up here there's a banner that was created, so their little hole was punched in the top of them. They were also sanded. It's really easy to sand those charms. I've got a sanding block. I'm going to put a piece of scrap paper underneath there, and I'm just going to start sanding the top. So the gold ones, when you sand, it removes lightly just the layer on top, and then you get this nice sanded look. You can do that all over, and you still get some of the shimmer of that gold back behind the raised lettering.
Very easy to do, and you can see what it kind of goes with the vintage feel of this, even though it's 40, 50 years ago. And as you said, doing some tearing. Now there's something else going on with some of these.
Right. So some of the artwork has been cut out, and Lene wanted that distressed too. She wanted everything to look like old memorabilia. So you take that tag and you wrinkle it.
Now some of you are going to go at that, but
That's all right. There's a good reason. You wrinkle it, so now you've got these raised edges all over it, and then when you take, I've got a Memento Rich Cocoa ink pad, and I want to make sure, see how it's pretty.
How juicy it
is.
is.
It's not too bad. So you, when you go over it, start with a light touch because you don't want to overdo it, and see what it does. I'm trying to just sort of pick up those raised edges. And there you can see just,
Right.
it only needs a little bit, and then you can go around the edges as well.
And I will tell you, it was so smart of Gail to test that first on the white paper, because we've had the experience of thinking it was a drying
Yeah.
pad and it was juicy and
I
kind
think
of
maybe you've seen me do that
obliterating.
on these webisodes.
See, you get all of this benefit of experience.
And more.
Now, also going along with the theme of aged is some tearing that's going on along the edge here and some inking. So nice to have that, those techniques
Yeah.
going through the entire
That's a
layout.
nice little contrast. And you know, when you tear the edge of that paper, it's going to be white. And that's why I like the inking. It makes it look aged.
Yes. Now, this is the companion page. Notice it uses the same photos. This time there are two, but slightly different in use. What is the same is a collage of memorabilia, this time going vertically, or going horizontally instead of vertically as was done on the first page.
And I like that the papers were changed in that in the first one you had this large red focal background, and this one you just have a strip of it to sort of remind you, okay, this is what we're thinking of. We're thinking of that large red piece.
And of course, being U.S. and World War II, red, white, and blue is just perfect for that. And there's that one little area that was on this diagonal stripe, nicely used up here. Again, with the tearing offsetting the mat instead of actually matting it.
So that wasn't completely matted on that mat, just a piece of it was back there. And adding some photos of not always the person in the photo, but some additional photos of where he's been.
And that's where the embellies are coming in. They're adding a little bit of dimension to this very lovely collage look.
And if you don't, you can put the embellies all the way through, or you can put them just through a tag in this case. And if you want, you can use wire snippers and cut the legs off the back of an embelly and foam tape them in place if you need to.
Choices, lots of choices. Okay, this is the first layout, and you can see the techniques are duplicated on the second page. Now we're going to go into more of a modern theme.
And look how different that same paper pack can look. I like that you can use it in more than one way.
I agree. Now, what's fun here is when you've got imagery that will allow a photo to be placed behind it. It's fun to take an X-Acto knife or a pen knife, simply cut along the edge of the artwork, slip your matted photo underneath, and it lets those kind of interact with the photo.
Sure, there's lots of opportunity for that on this border page. It's just beautiful. I love the little treatments of the embellies just sort of sitting off in this area because it's so filled with artwork. You can put something little there and it looks like it just fits in.
It does. Now, the first layout used the gold foiled and embossed paper charms. This one is using the copper collection.
The copper, and they have been treated differently. So in this case, they haven't been sanded, they've been painted. So in addition, for this you're going to need the distress paint, the broken china distress paint.
Or any acrylic paint.
Sure, okay.
Yeah.
And so you get that, you shake that up really well. And what Susan likes to do is sort of off the paper, get it going a little bit so you know that your paint is working. And then you brush it along.
It's kind of interesting that she chose the blue, because you could certainly do brown, black.
Sure, anything else. It just sort of, it just, the little bit that's going to be on there, it fits in very nicely. So I've got that on there. She said she probably waited 30 seconds or so. You want to let that dry just enough so it's going to stay in the background before you wipe it off.
But we're not waiting 30 seconds.
Wait. At least on air, you're not seeing me wait. And just sort of wipe it off. And there, it will wipe off the top of it and it will stay in the background. If that was a little wet, it would take off a little bit more too, but you can see the effect there.
And you can decide how long you want that to, it's kind of a colored antiquing, if you will.
So it's going to antique around the edges of that, and I just think that's a great look.
Okay, and that's what she's done there. Add a little ribbon loop behind it and matted it on a darker color. And you can see how just these few pieces were added, but they really do blend in quite nicely.
They do. And these, there's a little bit of extra on there. There's a copper zing on there around the edges, so that was added as well with Versamark and just a little copper zing glitter embossing powder.
So if you want to add other things, there are options suggested for you.
You could also just pop them out and place them on there.
Yes. Now the companion page is going to offer more photos, and what I think is really fun is one large photo here, and then this collage over here.
Which actually includes a couple of small photos in that collage. I think that's a great look.
And you can see the paper art and the embellies and the paper charms, just how fun that is. I think with collaging, it's really nice to kind of have an idea from someone else to get you started.
Sure. Another thing is get all your pieces cut out, set them on there before you start gluing them in place, move them around until you get the look that you want before you get committed by foam taping and
gluing. Now we have, this is another of the paper pieces that this one was cut out, but how fun to have it overlapping onto the journaling. And then we have, it's kind of like a suitcase, and these things are popping out of it. So lots of fun, looks like stamps, and again, the both the gold and the copper charms and the embelly.
And they add a lot, just those tiny little charms, and they really add a lot of pop. I also like the ribbon treatment along the bottom of that photo.
Oh, nice.
So it's folded over the right side, comes over to the left, and then it's just knotted and cut off there.
And speaking of going over, we've got that little bird, we've got the time and temperature.
Oh, compass, or whatever.
So very, very, very nice, and a nice way to do vacation images no matter where you're going, or even if you're doing a staycation. Just works well. Now we'll go into the Kindred Spirits, and this, I just absolutely love what's going on with those acetate butterflies. Look how this is been put onto the flowers. And because it is clear, you can see the artwork behind it, but you also have that shimmer and shine right there. And I just think it's so lovely.
It is. It's very graceful. And what's nice about these is that you can score them and bend up those wings, so you get a little bit of dimension there too.
And simply glue it in the center.
Yeah, glue or Zots. Zots work very well for that.
Now, this has something very different, because this is a dazzle, but it's gold, and we have black dazzles.
We have black dazzles, so how did it get like that? Well, what happens is if you bring in some gold embossing powder, then you can change your dazzles. Now, what you have to remember about doing that is not to get too close with a heat gun, or you're going to warp the dazzle. So you have to take a little bit of extra time, be careful when you're doing it, but it's very simply done. So I have one of the dazzles, I actually cut out around it, so you can see the entire piece there. For me, I think I'm going to go ahead and remove that the outer bit of those dazzles here, so it just makes it a little easier. Now you can see it fully. And then I'm going to take my very well used Versamark pad, and I'm going to go over that like so. I'm just going to make sure that I have it all over the dazzle. So I'm going to cover the dazzle with the Versamark. There we go. That gives it something for the embossing powder to hold on to. Then I'm going to put the embossing powder on there. And
want this to catch it?
That's perfect. Go ahead and make sure it's totally covered. So I'm just going to shake it all over that. Make sure that it's all over, even back down on that corner.
Now, in my mind, this should not work. So I'm surprised that it does.
Because they're plastic. And it's, you know, I don't think a lot of us have tried it, but it just sort of got tried and going, hey, you know, it kind of works. I'm going to hold on to this with tweezers, because we're going to get kind of close to it, and I don't want to burn my fingers, so that's something to remember. And then you just start from a pretty good distance away. I think I'm 5 or 6 inches away, so I'm slowly heating it. And it's going to slowly take. It's going to take a little longer than if I was embossing on paper. I could get a lot closer, right? And you keep moving around. You don't want to stop in one place. And there it's starting to turn up on the edge. You can see it going. And as long as I keep moving the heat gun around, it's going to get all over. And if I don't get too impatient and get too close, I won't warp it. So there you go. And I missed, you see I missed the Versamark, so take a little more time so that you don't miss it.
You can always go back and do that.
Right, so there you go. That's been done. And you're going to have to let that cool a little bit. Let's see, yeah, that's pretty warm. It gets warm, but once it's ready, you can, there, we can do it. I'm going to start right at that end where that
start at
part
your
is.
black end.
Yeah. And then when you lift it, you have gold dazzles.
Wow. Now, I have seen gold dazzles doing it by doing a Versamark, a gold ink pad. Beautiful on the black.
There we go.
Ah.
There we go. Ta-da.
Just like so.
Just like so.
And here it is with a frame. And what I love is it framing this, and this is the smallest photo on the page, but it really adds some pop to it, being able to see her, and just lovely. So that's what was done with the love and that shape.
And then it was backed on paper. Right, and you were pointed at that one as well, and half of it is going off the page.
Right, onto the other
next
page.
So that's great. Look.
Very nice look. Now the stickers are right here, and they've put into a pennant that's going to work nicely.
I love that tiny little acetate butterfly right in her hair.
Right, and then another one that's overlapping two photos, and also coming down here. So just a great use of these, and even letting a little of the dazzle peek out from the corner. Right. So several different techniques going on this one. And we have a last with this layout. Now this has a very different feel, which I really like, and this is talking about the Lakehouse. And you can see these squares of paper have been cut and then arranged as just a big mat.
Right, a big mat behind those photos. So that photo was matted on cardstock, in this case an ivory and a black, so you could sort of see it pop out. And then just putting those squares, inking the edges and building up around, so get that right where you feel like it looks good, and then glue them in place.
Now this butterfly, as we get in close, has some color behind it. Right. And yet it's still translucent, so what gives?
So what gives is you want to start with popping out one of those butterflies. So we're going to go ahead and do that here. Pretty simple to do. They come right out. And you're going to use Spectrum Noir pens on the back of it. So you don't want to cover up that beautiful gold, so you turn it over, and look at that, by the way, it's silver on the back.
Beautiful silver on the back.
And I've got a couple of pens from a purple set and from the pink set.
Now members would have received those Spectrum Noir pens on an earlier kit.
Not these.
Okay.
Not these in particular. These are from a different set entirely. So okay. There is another one that you do get some Spectrum Noirs.
Yeah, you get a pink and a blue, I think.
Yeah, like a red and a blue, something like that. Anyway, you can just go on the back, and it actually doesn't matter if you go over the silver. I could technically go over the whole thing. So because that's right, I forgot about that. So you're just going to color in on the back, and it doesn't take very long at all for Spectrum Noir pens to dry, because they are alcohol based, so they dry pretty quickly. So that's what you do. So I've got the pink, I've got that purple, which actually looks kind of like hot pink on there.
It does.
And then when you're all done and you turn it over, there it is on this side, a nice colored butterfly.
And so that was the technique, the class that was given. And you can see these are the regular dazzles, but they have also got some coloring. Now this looks, I see it shiny.
It is, so those have been backed on acetate. So with this great big sheet, you also have acetate afterwards. After you punch them out, you've got all this extra acetate. Well, you can back a dazzle on there. So it's so simple to just remove a dazzle, place it right on the acetate. In this case, I'm just sort of going for that big butterfly there. You can place the whole thing, find a spot that takes the whole thing. Then you cut out around the edges and color the back.
Do some coloring. Great idea. And that's what's so fun about this being done as classes, is because there are just so many ways you can use them, and we're really focusing on techniques.
Right, and you might not always think of these little things. That's what we're here for, to sit here and help you find new ways of using these items.
There's more of the dazzles backed. In fact, this is one of the flowers that was colored, so it's on the butterfly sheet. You can see we've chosen more of the stickers and more of the travel art.
I love that these swirls have been used as corner treatment, so you're going to see that on all four corners of that photo.
Now the companion page makes use again of those squares, but this time puts them vertically. And so it's a different way of using. You can see there is that vine ribbon that's been used as an accent.
An additional border. I love the strip of paper and this has been cut out from the
artwork.
So you've got a strip there, and you've just got a little tag and some of the acetate. Now, what is this? This is about the lake house. This is about being together, but this is Asian-inspired artwork that's put on there. It just matches beautifully.
It works really
goes
well.
Along with the flowers.
I particularly love the dragonfly in there. That's from the travel art, and as you said, laying out the dazzles, letting them play, going up the side, mixing with the acetate pieces.
And then one word right up at the top, together.
Kind of says it all, doesn't it? Now our card is going to take advantage of flipping those acetate butterflies over and getting our silver side.
Right. So here's the front side and the back side. Then you have silver, so use them either way.
Nice bonus.
You could color the back side of those with the silver on top if you wanted as well.
In this case, however, it's been backed on paper, and we've added some dazzles. And you can see how these dazzles have been backed on the pattern paper and border treatment at the top, one at the bottom.
Right, there's more dazzles that have been backed. There's a smaller one, and then it's foam tape on top, so you get a little bit of dimension.
And with every card that's shown, you get the inside. So it's the little things and thanks. So very nicely done.
Beautiful.
And that was with our March kit. Now for this webisode today, we would be adding the Homeward Bound foil paper toll just as an extra bonus.
It's so beautiful, that gold or silver and gold foiling. It's just beautiful. The foiling is just picking up everything. I love that large camera. You get 3 images on here that will be stacked together. You can also pull them apart.
Extra art.
Individual.
Love the camera. I think it's so great with the foiling. Now, this is the March 2014, which is the offer, but I thought it might be fun to just show you another one that we are not going to go deeply into. This is January's, and it is focusing on some techniques using some specialty papers.
Specialty papers and a template. A design toolkit.
So the specialty papers are going to include the brown ripple. They're going to include the copper color me. Isn't that a gorgeous combination?
Beautiful.
We've got the copper jewel dazzles. We've got the star dazzles. So all of those, as well as the design toolkit number 6.
And this is great because once you get that, you'll have it for ever basically, and you can use it on so many different things. We use them all the time.
We do, and the embellies include lots of ribbons. I'm not going to go into all of them, but they also have some of these mini templates. So you've got dragonflies, you've got birds, you've got some labels, as well as some die cuts. So as I said, specialty papers and embellies, but just to show you a few things that were done in this January kit.
And remember that you've got that newsletter to show you how to do all the things you're going to see here.
Exactly. So this is an excellent use of that template. So you can see there's a tag, there's the bird, and we have the circle.
Right, so that's great. That's from the template, the circle, the outer frame, and then you can do some pen work to surround that circle. That's nice.
And here is the copper color me mixed beautifully. There is one page, and then here is the companion page. These are the die cuts that are part of the kit.
Going off the page, that's beautiful. Here's more from the design toolkit, ways of using that, even putting a photo in the center of it.
You can see the bird there, and you can see that the color me is going horizontally, edged nicely, including the template. and the great big die cuts. Then I think this is just a wonderful, as we mention often, is that we do endeavor to have masculine layouts so that not everything is feminine.
Right,
and
one in each personal shopper, you'll get one of those.
This is just striking. We've using that design tool in a way that makes a larger mat, as you can see.
You can use parts of the design tool to just edge one end and then the other end, so it doesn't have to be that big to make it work.
Right, and you can see that the ripple, the copper ripple, has been used back there.
Right, and it's been inked, the edges have been inked, and these are some of the embellishments that are in the kit, these wooden bingo chips.
Right, and here is one of the labels, those mini
templates. It's also been inked, so there's lots of classes going on in this two-page spread.
And that's just such a striking layout. I just absolutely love it, and the steps to do it are all included, and you can see the stars are universal through this whole double-page
spread. And they're fun papers. They're such fun. There's a lot of numbers in the background. You can see these banners from some of the striped papers. These are great papers.
Very, very fun. Now, the last double-page spread, and I'm not showing you everything, but I thought this was so clever, is that the bird wing is this shape.
Right.
And
you have to get
you can bring it out
to show it. Yeah. So within the toolkit, there is the bird.
And you've kind of seen that a couple of times here.
And there is the bird wing. But look at that for a second. What does that look like?
Well, Amy decided it was a seal.
Yeah.
And so she just couldn't resist turning it into a seal.
It was obvious once she said it, but I never would have thought of that.
Just very fun. And as you said, having those banners, fun to have it going as a border offset into the center of the page. So again, just wanted to pique your interest and let you see that a lot is going on every single month. Scrapbooking Glasses Personal Shopper.
Right.
And we will see you tomorrow
for another one.